Hi guys, let me pull up my pants. Now today you are in for a ride. I'm going to make the samosas which you have been asking me to make. I have a challenge here today because I have to make 3 types of samosas. I have to make the normal ones with beef, and then I have to make the vegetarian because my man is vegetarian, and then I have to make like gluten free. You know, there are some people who are allergic to gluten and they cannot eat the wheat flour and all that. So I have some samosas for them that I'll not use the normal pastry we use. So for these samosas, I use a lot of ingredients because I always like to try different things. But you can use just beef and salt and pepper if you're boring. But I'm not. I use a lot, and I'm going to show you. First of all, you see all these onions because I'm making a lot of samosas and I'm making 3 types. So I'll share. If it remains, I'll use them for some other food. But all these onions have been chopped. You remember the way I showed you, the way I normally chop them, like that, so that I save time and all that. So I have the onions. I have spring onions that I've already chopped. I have paprika. I don't know what you call them in pili pili hoho, but the ones who paprika, I have green, red and yellow. I mix them for some taste, but these ones are for the vegetarian. And then I have a lot of coriander. I'm going to divide into sections because I'm making a lot. And then I have the meat. This is the meat for the meat samosas. Basically, there are some ingredients that will cross each other, so that I know what I'll use for vegetarian and I know what I'll use for beef, but I'll let you know along the way. And then this is garlic. I have a lot because, again, a lot of samosas. And then I've already chopped the potatoes for the vegetarian. You can see I have chopped them into tiny cubes that are easy to cook, but that one I will deal with after I do the meat ones. And then I have the spices which I use. I use cumin. This is whole cumin seeds, not the grounded one. And then I have some spices for the food. You can use any spices you want, so long as you know what you want your samosas to taste. And then I have turmeric. Turmeric I use for all the types of samosas I make. And this is paprika powder, red paprika powder. And then I have, of course, oil and other stuff. And then for the meat samosas, I use this pastry that has already been made. Normally we make ourselves by mixing the wheat flour and kneading, but that's a lot of work for me today. So I'm gonna use a shortcut. I'm just gonna show you how to fold them and how to make them into perfect triangles. And also I'm going to save a lot of time. And then I have for the gluten free, I'm gonna try to use this sweet potato wraps and see if it will work, or I will use the rice it's called what, rice paper, because they cannot eat this one for that is made by wheat flour. I will use this one and hopefully they'll work. I have done them before with some gluten-free flour, but it was very difficult. So I'm gonna try these ones today. Cross our fingers that it will work. And then for the sellotaping for sellotaping the samosas together, as in for holding them together, I use egg. These are 2 eggs that I will just beat like this, and then I will use them to hold the samosas together. I will show you how. Other people use wheat flour. They mix with water and then they use it, but I use egg instead. If you're allergic to egg, you can use the wheat flour. If you're allergic to wheat flour, you can use the egg. But if you're allergic to both, I don't know how to help you. Try saliva and put it together. But I hope nobody is allergic to both egg and wheat flour. I use egg because it holds them very beautifully. So that's how. So I'm gonna start by first frying the meat and then adding the spices as I show you. I'm gonna turn the camera down. You know how I look, so you will be looking down. And then we see how it works. I'm trying to talk loudly because people have told me that my videos have very low voice. I understand it's because I don't have a speaker. I have told the husband to look for a speaker for me, so it's gonna come, the sounds will be better. So let's start frying the meat. Okay, now I'm ready to start. I've already opened the meat, so I have 4 packets of 400 grams each, so meaning that's like 1.2 kilo. So it's gonna be a lot of samosas. I don't know how many, but we'll see. And you see, I don't put any oil when I'm frying the meat because the meat naturally has some oil in it. So to avoid the food having so much oil, I don't put any, I don't add. But of course, if you have very lean meat, you can add. So I thought I had turned the heat on, but it was low, but we'll get there. So I start separating the meat. Okay, I can hear some weird sounds. Let me separate the meat first. This is just half of what I'm gonna cook. So just to show you how I make the samosas, I'll do this today. But yeah, you fry the meat until it's all brown and good before you start adding any spices. So I'm just gonna do this and then I'll get back to you. Yeah, as you can see, trying to make the cooking as even as possible. It's easier to use two because then you help it. Make sure you use an non-stick pan when you're frying without the oil, so that it does not stick on the pan. Because you see, this pan is so good, nothing sticks. I'm gonna cook the meat for like a minute more because now you see it's brown and even. know what the other type is called. These ones, like plastic, so that you do not ruin your pans. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. You see there's some moisture. I want it to have very little liquid. But you can see I haven't added anything. I haven't added anything yet. I have to cook the meat first. Okay, now the meat has evenly cooked and it has dried up. You can even hear from the sound that it's a bit dried up. The first thing I add after the meat is ready is the onion. It's the onion. Let me just chop everything. If I have more onions, I will freeze them for future. But yeah, I add onions. I don't measure. You can choose. Some people like a lot of onions. Some people like a little. But you see the onions are very well chopped. I put almost half because they will disappear. But you can put as much as you want or as little as you want. Then you mix. You see already the onions, when they start frying, they will disappear inside the meat. You won't even know that there is a lot of onion, but the flavor of the samosas will be really good. So I'm saving for the other samosas and other dishes. I have other dishes to make later. Still, I have not put any oil in this dish. No oil at all. On the potatoes, I will have to put oil because that's a different case. But this one, I don't put any additional oil. First of all, we will deep fry the samosas. So that's extra oil. So I'm still waiting for the onions to become a little bit more cooked before I continue adding the other ingredients. Yeah, so the onions have cooked anyway. They will continue cooking. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start adding the other ingredients slowly, and you will see the color changing and adding more tastes and all that. So what I normally do, I don't put the spring onions and the coriander yet because those ones I will put them later. But I take this turmeric. I take like those are two teaspoons, but I don't need so much because they have a very distinct smell if you put a lot. But you can see the color is changing, which will look very beautiful. Wow. And then I take the other spices. You can use some people use Royco, chili cube, some people use Maggi. You can use this bouillons. Let me show you. Like these ones, you can use these so long as you just add tastes on your samosas as you want. At this point, I also put some paprika in it, some red paprika, just like a teaspoon or so, 1.5 teaspoon. At this point, the neighbors will start knocking, wondering what we are cooking, because it smells good already. So I put paprika, I put turmeric, and I'm gonna put my spices. This one has a lot of salt, so I don't put salt. I don't put salt in these samosas at all, because the spices will cover for the salt taste. If you add salt, you will it will be too much. And also at this point, you have to start tasting to make sure that you haven't put in too little. So the saltiness from this spice is enough, so I don't need to add one more or so. At this point, I'm gonna add these spring onions. The spring onions, I chop them from here, you see, but I don't throw these ones away because I will use them for cooking other dishes later. I put them inside this tin and I crush them together with other ingredients so that I don't waste anything. Even the coriander, I don't throw away the stems. You can see the stems, I don't throw them away because I will use them. They have a lot of flavor in them. So that's another tip if you're wondering what to do with some leftovers. So I saved some for the vegetarian. I've had to reduce a lot of heat because it's going faster here. Basically, I follow almost the same steps with the vegetarian too, only that instead of in the vegetarian I add these paprikas. These ones I don't use here. You can use if you want, but I feel like they always alter the taste of the beef samosas. So you can see the beautiful color. I add the coriander. Some people don't like coriander, but I don't know if I can live without. So I have to have coriander in it. You can see how beautiful the color is. While this will be cooling down, I will be making the vegetarian because it has to cool down before we start packing them in. So at this point, we're not gonna cook the meat for a long time. It's almost ready. I forgot one thing. I forgot the garlic. We cannot do without garlic. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna grind the garlic with my hand mixer because I don't have time to chop it. It's easier this way, you see? that will be able to do it well. So I've ground the garlic. I've ground the garlic because I don't have, you can grate it, you can grind it, you can chop it, anyhow you want. But this way, it will give more flavor. I cannot use a lot because it might overpower the taste of the dish. So let's fill it first. It doesn't matter if you put the garlic first or last, but putting it last is even better because you don't cook away all the flavor. I think it smells very good. It's enough garlic. Now for this ground cumin, you can see I add them to give it a little edge. People always wonder what they're biting into. Like 2 pinches is enough. And then I take the cardamom. Forgot to mention the cardamom, this one. But I only want the seeds inside and very few. So I will grind them and then I remove the seeds and just dump them there to give a little bit of edge in the sauce. So again, the cardamoms look like this, but I don't want the skin, I want the seeds. So now, if you can see here, I've ground them. I'm gonna remove the skin and throw away. If I was gonna cook rice, I would have dipped them in the rice water, but for now, I don't need them. So I'm gonna put them away. Then I have something like this, just a little bit of cardamom like this. Then I grind it a little bit more. Very little cardamom, you don't want to, very little cardamom, like I said, you don't want to overpower to let it overpower because it's very strong. So just like a half a teaspoon, like that. You will thank me later. So the meat is just gonna be here a minute more and then it's done and ready for the samosas. So I'm gonna start on the vegetarian before I show you how to pack them in these pastries, these various pastries. If you don't have pastries, you can find ways of how to make the homemade pastry, but it's a lot of work. I personally will admit I don't like doing it, so that's why I buy these shortcut ones. So I tasted the meat and I needed a little bit of puffing up. So yeah, this meat is gonna be on the side there and wait for me to finish the vegetarian while it's cooling down. Now round 2. For round 2, I take another pan. Now it's for the vegetarian. This one has to go differently. have the potatoes. I'm just draining them. Just draining the potatoes a little bit for the weight. And I also have leftover peas that I think instead of just letting them lie in the freezer, I'm gonna use them. So I have peas here. You can have, because it's vegetarian anyway. So these are frozen peas. I will add them in the with the potatoes. I had a lot, so I can use them instead of just throwing them or them lying there. Anyway, ready for the vegetarian. For the vegetarian, I need oil. I need oil to fry the potatoes. There are a lot of potatoes, so I use kind of a lot. Still draining the potatoes. I don't know if this pan is big enough for all these potatoes, but I'll try. The oil wasn't so hot. Yeah. So we're gonna fry the potatoes until they're soft before we start adding the spices. So that I will show you too later. I'm just gonna take time and fry them. As in, I don't know how much time, but as long as they're still hard, they have to be soft. I'll show you how they're supposed to be before you start adding stuff. So see you later.